Imagine this, a giant medieval castle being attacked by flying elephant seals, and then make the castle purple. Most of you have probably never seen anything like it, yet I can put that picture into your minds pretty easily. This ability for us humans to communicate and share our ideas between one another is essentially what makes us who we are. Through countless generations, this ability has been passed down with spoken and written word being the main mediums. However, in recent years, social media has entered the equation, revolutionizing the way that we interact. Platforms like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Reddit, all enable us to build these huge communities from the comfort of our homes and stay connected with loved ones from anywhere around the world. They allow us to celebrate milestones and maintain friendships despite physical distance in real time, which brings us to the rise during the COVID-19 pandemic. With everyone locked in their homes, we turned to social media. Instead of going into the classroom, we would open a Google Meet where our teachers would present the curriculum, and some quite creatively. Despite the online format, one of my favorite classes, potentially ever, was grade 8 French, where our teacher took full advantage of us being at home and got us cooking and learning all the French names for ingredients. Then the next day, we would spend hours trying to beat each other in our Duolingo high scores. Back. We couldn't go out with our friends, but press a button and they appeared on the other side of our screens. And if you ever did have the chance to go anywhere, sharing something on Instagram or even a group chat was the perfect way to let everybody else know how much better you were than them. People couldn't go to work, but a quick email containing a Zoom link, and suddenly you could have meetings just like you were in person. All of this possible through social media. But that's not to say it didn't come without its downsides. Back to online school, some teachers were, frankly, less inspired by the online format. The same teacher that would seldom give out homework was suddenly handing out assignments with tens of pages due tomorrow. I guess it's easier to hand out work when instead of lively, vocal kids, your class is a wall of great avatars. Regardless, back then, social media was irreplaceable. But even today, it's remained an essential component of the way we socialize. So much so that instead of bridging the gaps when otherwise we couldn't maintain relations, it's now replacing the moments that make those relations worthwhile. At school, at lunch, we send each other Instagram reels from across the cafeteria table or across the hall instead of just speaking face to face. Countless times plans to go out to the Rogers Center and root for the Blue Jays, or build an epic toboggan jump after a snowstorm, degenerate into empty promises. When writing this very talk, I want to speak about a big breakthrough moment where social media prevented me from going out and making core memories with those close to me. I want to talk about all the emotions of disappointment and frustration and maybe even self-hatred. But there was nothing of the sort. No emotions, not much of anything at all. Looking back, all of those opportunities to build core memories came and went without a second thought, replaced by hours and hours online. But some of that time was spent together. My chats show records of me being on calls with my friends for hours, sending gifts and playing games and generally having a great time. So why does all of that disappear in retrospect? What's the difference between calling someone over the phone and meeting up at the corner? Is there something more to communication than just words? Well, I looked it up on my phone, of course. And yeah, there is. It's called kinesics. And here's what I learned. Kinesics is basically everything nonverbal about communication. That's the hand gestures, the facial expressions, the body language. Even pauses in your speech fall under this blanket term. And experts find that about over 50% of the message conveyed is through kinesics as opposed to the actual words being spoken. When on the phone, You don't see the other person smile. You can't tell if they're engaged. I guess emojis might help, but they're nothing compared to a pat on the back. The lack of nonverbal cues just makes conversation lose meaning compared to actually being together. So, what can we do to overcome this issue? First off, social media. What is even worse is that a lot of the time spent online is spent alone, doom scrolling. Spending hours and hours on end consuming content designed to keep you immersed in this alternate world. Dopamine is basically a neurotransmitter that tells you how to process pleasure and,
I'm so sorry.
And reinforcing the good behavior. And as you keep scrolling through social media, more and more dopamine is released, basically turning that habit into an addiction. And just like any other addiction, there are serious consequences to doom scrolling. A study by the American Psychological Association found that teenagers on average spend 5 hours a day on screens, not doing homework or any other hobbies, but purely on social media. And of those in higher and higher percentiles of social media use, their self-confidence, mental health, physical health, and quality of life decreased significantly. But if we take a little bit of a look deeper, we can quickly see how one can come to such a conclusion. First off, there's a direct correlation between the amount of time spent on social media and the amount of sleep the students get each night. Students, teenagers and kids especially, are supposed to get 9 to 10 hours of sleep, but much of that time is displaced by social media. TikTok reports that 1 in 4 of their students aged 16 to 17 are actively online between the hours of 12 and 5 in the morning. And even if we don't go to that extreme, just the blue light coming off your phone, even an hour before bed, tricks your brain into thinking it's still daytime and making falling asleep significantly harder. And lack of sleep comes with its own batch of symptoms, including stress, depression, anxiety, all symptoms that we hear all too common in our social media discussion. Second, social media has a very strong impression on young teens when it comes to body image. A study from the National Institute of Health finds that about 60% of students have reported avoiding outside social interaction, even with their closest friends, due to concerns about their body image. Body dysmorphia is a serious problem, and again, comes with those symptoms of, you guessed it, stress, depression, anxiety. And finally, time spent on social media is very simply time not spent doing anything else. Social media is often used as an excuse to dodge chores or procrastinate on homework. It takes away from family time and just takes away from all of those normal activities that make up a normal social life. So, how can we overcome this social media addiction? I think that the best way to learn is to learn from someone that's already gone through something of the sort. And tonight, that will be my friend. Let's call him John. John, right after COVID, had a bit of a, let's call it a social media crisis. During this time, he had exceptionally high screen times, he had issues with his sleep, and as a result, his grades suffered, and he is becoming less and less of his regular, cheery self. The first step that John took, and the first step that we should all take in this battle, is to recognize it's an issue and want to change something. John's big moment of realization was when he got a particularly bad grade on an assignment that he had waited until the last second for. And maybe, for some of you, that moment could come tonight in, I don't know, a TED Talk. Once John realized that was an issue and that he wanted to solve it, he used several methods to go about it. One thing is that many experts recommend doing is setting time limits and alarms on your phone to stop you from getting carried away in doom scrolling. Another option is to take on a healthier or more productive habit. One great way that my friend found was to play against me in chess. But it doesn't have to be chess. It can be anything you want. You can read, go on walks, get really good at Scrabble or play a musical instrument. The final thing that helped John with his ongoing battle with social media was taking extended breaks from apps. What I mean by this is he logged off all his apps for 1 day, and then he went back. But then the next time, he did it for 2 days, and then 3, 5, before finally a week before stopping altogether. This helped him get over that last step instead of just quitting cold. I tell you this story today to take 2 main lessons: mindfulness and moderation. Let's start with moderation, because I find it to be more simple. It may come as a surprise, but even I think that having a positive social media presence is important. However, too much of a good thing is never healthy, and social media is certainly not the exception. Second, mindfulness. And this is my homework for you tonight. Now, I know who doesn't love a talk, telling you to get off your phones, and then gives you homework after. But seriously, we should all take some time to reflect on the impact that social media is having on our well-being, as well as the well-being of those around us. If it's having a positive impact, that's great, but how can we make sure that it stays that way? And if you're not where you want to be yet, then come up with a game plan. Whether that's finding a new hobby, or making your friends hold you accountable, or setting time limits on apps, or any combination of the 3, it's time for you to take your time back.